Hello, David Paul here, second attempt. The truck drove past on the last one. Well, what's this about? Well, I'm going to title this video Planting a Seed. I'm not Filipino, and I've lived outside of the Philippines, and I've visited other countries, mostly in Europe. Yes, mostly in Europe. But I've seen other things that other people do, and I certainly want to go to Japan and have a look at things that go on there, how they do woodwork, just how they do things, the ideas. They have some clever ideas, and they have some like wacko ideas that I'm not interested in. But I don't know until I go and I see it. And it's kind of like you cannot know these things until you know them. And as Plato would say, like, how do I know what I need to know till I know it, you know? So you don't know what the knowledge is that you need to get. You need to just observe the world and then make use of that which you see or learn. I'm not bragging, but I am a physics teacher and I do teach mathematics, and that gives me a perspective on life. I know how things work. I know how the physics of things work, and that gives me the opportunity to optimize things sometimes. And so I take that outlook on life, which is not Filipino. I have a different view on life to the Filipinos who are here, and who in Sorsogon particularly have not been anywhere else. They've spent most of their life in this village or in this region. They speak Tagalog. They haven't spent time in the Visaya region. They haven't spent time in different parts of their own country. There's a lot of diversity within the Philippines as Filipinos, even not just within language, within things they do. So I'm calling this planting a seed, because if you have an idea, it's very hard to explain the idea, and then you get pushback, and then everybody's got an opinion on it. And it's not just here, it's in the UK, it's everywhere. Nobody lets you just get on with what you want to do. I suspect that this might not be the case in America. I want to go to America sometime and check that place out. Amongst the homesteaders out there, there are some remarkable people doing some remarkable things, and then they can be copied, emulated. But unless you let the guy off the leash and just say, you know, do your own thing, let the guy off the leash, let him do something, and then see if he comes up with something useful. Now, it could be the case that the guy that you're letting off the leash, the obligatory tricycle to go past, the guy that you're letting off the leash is going to build something that's unacceptable. For example, he's going to concrete over some land which shouldn't be concreted over, or I don't know, damage some native wildlife or God knows what. But I am not that man. I am simply trying to do mostly jobs with woodwork. Now in the Philippines, I know because I got some land, wood grows here like crazy. You plant a seed, you plant a tree, and you grow the tree, and it just like powers its way up to the sky. Now, if you were to feed the damn tree, it would probably go twice, or I don't know, I have no idea. I would guess, if I was really working hard with some trees, I reckon I could get a tree to grow 3 to 5 times as fast as normal by feeding it organic fertilizer. By the way, tropical plants don't like inorganic fertilizer. That's another story. Anyway, so what I do is I have this idea about the Paulownia trees, and I'm now down to my last 2 trees. And it's an idea, and it's an idea that the Green Seed organization believes in. They are evangelical about this tree, and they care more about spreading this tree around the world than they do probably about their own business. Now, the thing about the tree is they're sending out seeds which are sterile. So you can plant the seed, you can grow the tree, you can crop it a few times, regrow it. It will not damage the ecosystem because it can't breed. It's not an invasive tree like something which I kind of think of at the moment. Like, well, example, the rain tree in the Philippines, which is acacia. The damn stuff is all over the place. Now, we had a time a while back when we 20 odd years ago, people were planting Gymnelina. This is the great idea. They were going to plant Gymnelina, and as I said in a previous video, I watched them do this, and they were growing it on Tallycut Island. And you feel, you know, you want to tell them something. You want to say, please don't do X, Y, or Z. It will not profit you to do this. Grow the damn thing straight. And no, they didn't. They just planted the trees, and the trees grew, and they had all like wavy shaped bent timber with stressed wood in it because it's not straight. Branches all over the place. Brush it, cut the branches off, grow it straight, grow a straight trunk, and then you might have half a chance of marketing the thing. So what does it end up with? All the stuff goes on the market all at the same time and ends up as firewood being used in like barbecue places, which is fair enough. I mean, they made something out of it, but it's not moving you forward. It's not moving the project forward. Now, the income in the Philippines is something like, I would guess it's something like about 1/10 of what I make. So if you're on that kind of income and you want to do something like build a house, what they do is they will save up what they call a budget. You must have a budget, which is what they mean by that. They mean a discrete amount of money which is utilized for the purpose of the project, which is whatever you're going to do. You're going to set up a chicken farm. You're going to, I don't know, have a fish farm, or in this case, build a house. The budget. So you save and you save and you save and you save. And then you go and buy yourself some concrete blocks. You build yourself a concrete house. Because in your mind, the concrete is the most durable material, and you will end up with a durable house. Yes, but you'll end up with a thing that's got a huge thermal capacity, and native houses always had a low thermal capacity, so at night when it got cool, the house is allowed to cool down and people could sleep in them. Now, there are lots of old houses in the Philippines built according to old principles. For example, in Vigan, where people sleep upstairs, they have cross ventilation. All these ideas have just been ignored and sacrificed on the altar of damn concrete. So wherever you go, wherever somebody gets a few bob, a bit of money, they build a concrete house. So I come along and I say, no, build Bahay Kubo. And they get this idea that what I'm suggesting is some kind of Nipa hut thing, you know. So I get into a discussion about, no, I don't want to build something like that. All I mean by Bahay Kubo is I mean a house which is made of wood. Now that country in South America where the entire capital of the country is made of wood. It's unique in the world. Those houses have been there like around about 300 years, you know, certainly hundreds of years. They are durable. And there are things that you can do to wood to make it really durable. there are people descendants of the Vikings living in the Faroe Islands who are living in houses which are 3,000 years old and they're perfectly sound. There are stave churches in Norway which are perfectly sound and they're like about 1,000 years old. So it can be done. Wood is not a temporary material if you want it to be. If you want it to be a, you know, obviously nothing's permanent, but something. If you want something that's going to last hundreds of years, you can do it. Now, what is the advantage of wood? Well, when I was a kid, I used to play with a toy called Meccano, and it just fixed itself into my head, and that was it. Played with the thing, didn't do a lot, but it was in there. And I also played with another. I'll wait, like a teacher. I will wait. I am waiting, still waiting. Anyway, I used to play with these two toys. And now people are finally starting to get the idea that you could emulate these things in the real world. And you could build houses, for example, out of blocks, which can be dismantled, like Lego. So they're making concrete blocks, they're making insulated blocks. They are making, in Germany, they are making houses out of Paulownia blocks, so it can be done. But the beauty of the Meccano system is that you bolt it all together and it becomes a very stiff, strong structure, cross connected and so on. Now there's a thing, it's called, in mathematics there's a thing it's called Pythagorean triples, or as some people call it, Pythagorean triangles. So with these what is key about these is they're all triangles, where the triangles have sides. Each one of them has a right angle within them, and on top of that they have all sides are in integers, i.e. whole numbers. Now the most basic one that everybody uses, if they want to generate a right angle, if you're out in the forest or something and you're trying to build a house or something, and you need a right angle, that one is 3, 4, 5 angles. So make a triangle out of 3, 4, 5, and one of those there angles will be a right angle, and you've got it, you've nailed it. Line it up to the next right angle, line it up to the next right angle, and the next one, and then you've got a square or a rectangle, or whatever it is you want to do, and you are now in a position of, it's a noisy place. This is a noisy, for a little town, village, it's a village. With that high school, it's one seriously noisy place. What the hell? Such is the Philippines. Ang buhay ito. This is the life. So, okay. So now that you've got these integers, which is the holes drilled in the Meccano, you're now in business. All you need is a peg or a bolt, and you can bolt the thing together. Now out of Meccano, people build all sorts of things. They will build cranes, they'll build houses, they'll build bridges, they'll build all sorts. So I got the idea, why don't we make something rather like, if you can imagine, a load of lollipop sticks. But the lollipop stick is, I don't know, many meters long. And there's there's a drill spacing, they're pre-drilled at a spacing called X. Yet to be decided, but I would think it would be some factor of the human, most 99% of human beings are lower than 6 feet. Let's give them 7 feet, right? So divide the 7 feet up, and maybe 2 feet per drill spacing or whatever. Anyway, fabricate these things, these large lollipop sticks, and sell them as they are. So instead of selling people stuff like cocoa lumber, you sell them this, and you make it out of any damn wood that you like. And as a total game changer has come along, which I keep talking about, which is this business of treating wood with borax. So if you can do that, and if you can fabricate a really nice, well-engineered component, you can bolt it together just like the Meccano. But on top of that, what you can do is you can make it out of really, really rubbish wood. The cheapest crap that you can get your hands on. And you make it out of that. So what you do is you start building your house out of this. And you build it and you build it and you build it, and you say you could start with cocoa lumber, but well machined cocoa lumber. You build it, you curse the damn thing, because you know it's just mahirap, it's just poor, it's just cocoa lumber. Doesn't matter, build it. Then what happens is, as you go along, paycheck to paycheck, or as the stuff starts to rot or gets worn, you replace each piece simply by unbolting it and replacing it with something really good, like teak. Where are you going to get the teak from? Well, in your garden, which is doing nothing in the case of most Filipinos who have front and back gardens or whatever, they're not really doing it much with that garden. They might have a pig in the back or something, and a little bit of malunggay which they can use for vegetable, and maybe a couple of squashes or whatever, but not much. What you can do with that garden is you can go and plant a couple of teak trees. Now teak, oh my god, it's going to take forever. No, it's not. It's not, because teak grows very quickly, and as I've probably talked about on this channel before, you can use a technique that's used in Japan. It's called dayasugi, where you grow sticks of this stuff as roundwood, and you harvest the roundwood. So you're trying to grow a tree no thicker than a telegraph pole, which you can then machine up into planks, and you can make these lollipop stick things, which you can then screw together. Okay, now in the UK, as you all know, I live in an A-frame, which I built, and it's the absolute. I decided I was going to push the limit on this, and I was going to make it the smallest little cabin that I've ever made, and I made it 6 feet by 6 feet. It's basically like living in a tent. You can't stand up in it, but you can sit on with it. And as you know, I'm in the tent, which is below it. Now when I get back, the tent is going the journey, and I'm going to sleep outside of the tent, and I'm going to utilize the full space, the interior space of the A-frame, consolidate it, close the ends off and so on, and make it into a proper little cabin. So anyway, if you start your project with something very small like that A-frame, yeah, the point I was going to make, right, I'm living quite comfortably in that wee A-frame. I'm doing okay. And what I noticed is I'm warm. I didn't need to have a heating system to keep me warm. Now, had I stayed this month in the UK, the temperature most likely at some time would have plummeted to something like about as far as -5. Just have a little drink. Cheers. So plastic cups, they don't hold their shape. Okay, the temperature plummets. However, I'm warm. And the reason is because the space to be heated is very small, and my body is doing the trick. And I've lit 2 candles in there previously, and I found that makes a terrific difference. And of course, when you want to get up in the morning and it's below freezing, and you damn well got to get up, you know, because you got to do something, or to go somewhere or whatever. What you gonna do? Well, I've got my little stove which I've shown on the channel, and it's just got canisters. And what I do is I turn that on, and it goes bang, illuminates, and instantly the place is warm. And instantly I can sit up because I've got this wee central heating system running, which is keeping me warm. So if you start from that, and you know, I went on talk radio talking to Andre Walker and Asher Gould about this very subject of living in the forest and stuff. You might look at that, you might say that's an absurd point of view, you know, living in the forest, that's an absurd point of view. But if you don't have a choice, what are you to do? You must survive. You have to survive. And I have survived, and I've got here, and I'm here in the Philippines, and I've done some things which have made a difference. I've contributed to the construction of the roof. So now those 4 children are not going to be walking around in puddles of water in the house. The house is not going to rot and fall down, because it's a concrete house, and they invested all that effort, time, and I wouldn't say love, but certainly, you know, they put what they had, they put into this damned dream of the flaming concrete house, which is what I'm trying to campaign against. Anyway, I've contributed to that, and they're going to have a roof. So, how did that come about? That came about because I was able to live much cheaper in the forest and not pay rent and so on. The system owns you. The system ranks up the cost so that what you're doing is you're only working paycheck to paycheck to paycheck in order to survive. And where the medical system gets involved, they're even in on it. They're not trying to make you well. They're just trying to manage your illnesses so as to harvest as much money as they can off you. I've got absolutely nothing wrong with me because of my taking the initiative to look after my own health. So even the doctors are now harvesting you. They're going on strike because they want more money. They're fantastically well paid, but they want more money. Everybody is trying to rank it up, jack up the cost on the ordinary guy at the bottom. Well, I'm rambling off the subject now. So my proposition is that we should grow trees. Now in Alaska they have a thing called the Indigenous Materials Act. And what that says, I think it's 10,000 board foot. You can go out into the forest, you can saw down trees, and you get yourself a hold of 10,000 board foot of timber and build a cabin or whatever the hell you want to build, you know, and that's what you're allowed per year. But in all honesty, nobody's measuring it, and if it's your own property, you're not cutting wild timber, you're cutting your own, and you can just do what you like. You can build something the size of the Eiffel Tower if you're crazy enough and you want to spend all your life just doing woodwork. You can do it, you know, nobody's stopping you. So we could do with something like that, an indigenous materials bill in the Philippines, generating a product that the ordinary Filipino can use. But there is no land. Well, there is no land. There isn't the land in terms of Alaska. But if the municipalities were to plant trees, and I would advocate either mango trees where they can get the fruit off them, which is reasonably good wood, and casts a lot of shade and reduces the heat islands and therefore reduces the demand for aircon. So you either do that or plant teak trees, which basically when you're harvesting that wood you can dismantle it and recycle it and utilize it on other projects, and this can go on for like 300 years. So you're not continuously having to replace wood structures because they're lasting. In fact, there's not really, trees last. A tree itself can last for, I don't know, about 500,000 years in the right conditions. So if you take measures to preserve the tree, you're going to end up with, the thing can last like, I don't know, my estimate would be about 300 years. I've seen decent 300-year-old timber. So obviously you don't tell the Filipinos these trees are for your use and go and harvest them and help yourself. What you do is you have an ID system and you have a registration system, and you butcher the trees, cut them all up into the pieces, turn them into these. They're waving to me. You turn them into the product that you want to produce, and you give it to the ordinary Filipinos at the bottom of the pile. And then the rich folks may not want to take their quota, or there may be people who want to pool their quota, or there may be people who want to downsize the house, and they can take it apart. They can dismantle it and hand it over to other people. Now, my starting point would be, let's get this going with Paulownia. Keep mispronouncing that. Paulownia. Let's get it started with Paulownia. Put that out and then follow up with the teak as a replacement. But in all honesty, even the Paulownia is good wood. It's quite durable, and it will be very durable if you treat it with this borax treatment system. Now in the UK, what I'm saying would be regarded as absurd. Building cabins in the wood, doing this, doing that, doing the other. All these savings I have made have got me this family here, which is functional. It's functioning because of my efforts, and it's also allowed me to buy a house in Portugal. And as much as people really take the piss out of my house, it's a house, and it's my house, and the land that's on it is my land, and I have the opportunity to fix it up. The opportunity is there. The former squaddy, military person, and a lot of these guys are out there. A lot of these squaddies are sleeping on the streets. We have sent these guys to war, and they've become traumatized by the war, and they've ended up homeless and living on the streets, probably because of substance abuse or something like that, and I don't have that. And that is disgraceful. It's disgraceful. But we have to give them something they can do. Let them build these tiny houses in the UK. Let them build them. The place where my house is located could be utilised as a place where you could build thousands of these tiny houses. And then, as time goes on, with this construction method, you get a bit more money. You start up a relationship with someone, and she moves in, and you've got no space you haven't got space to swing a cat. What do? You extend it. It's only a Meccano system. You extend it, make it bigger, and then have some kids. Extend it, make it bigger. Then the kids leave home and you don't need such a big house. Dismantle it, give some to the kids so they can build a house themselves. It's a It's a methodology of mining the sky. The solar power from the sky is pouring down on us all the time. The potential over the years to go vast amounts of wood. The constant complaining about global warming or the rising CO2 level. Well, if you're going to go build a load of houses, if this matters to you, build wooden houses. They will gobble up the CO2. They're CO2 negative. So anyway, I've done this entire video on a digression really, but what sort of pissed me off, and I know, and I don't know why I do it, you know, but I think I'll give it a go. I'll give it another try. I go to the barangay captain's office and I ask about the rules regarding felling trees, right? Because I'm trying to grow trees, and the trees available to me are like things like mahogany. I don't want to use that because it poisons the land. Gimelina, mango, which is not a native of the Philippines anyway, teak tree, and now this Paulownia. So the Paulownia. So I can grow any of these non-native trees. So if every single one of these trees, if we felled them all tomorrow, the impact on the ecosystem of Portugal, of the Philippines, is zero. In fact, you're restoring the ecosystem of the Philippines by getting rid of the foreign species, which is not bothering anybody, but you could do that. If that's what you want to do, you can do it. I want to keep the camera straight. Okay, so I go in there and I say, is it possible for me to grow, in Tagalog, I tell them in Tagalog, how can I grow trees here in the Philippines? And the issue is this province, because they seem to be rather sniffy about people cutting trees down. How can I grow trees here in the Philippines so that I can cut them down at a later date, harvesting them and using the wood? And then what I get is like, oh, you can't do that because of the logging ban and this and that and the other, and you need a permit. Well, how do I go about getting the permit here in Sorsogon? I know what I got to do in Talikod Island. I know what I do there. But so, okay, I know what to do there, but there's a Sorsogon, and all of my wood is in Talikod. So I'm thinking about cutting the wood in Talikod, processing it, and then taking it to Sorsogon and utilising it here. So do that. But he can't tell me what the rules are. He can't tell me if it's possible. He can't tell me about the transportation, etc, etc, etc. And if you're going to have rules, right, please tell people what the rules are, what's possible, can we do X, Y or Z, and if you can't do X, Y or Z, let's quit. Let's quit, possibly even quit the Philippines and do it somewhere else. And make a video about it somewhere else and say this is how we did it, not in the Philippines, because you're putting a block on it. Now you can't tell me any of that. Can't tell me anything. So I'm now referred to the next tier of government, and I'm leaving the place now. But it's very, very frustrating. As I pointed out to him, I said it's very, very frustrating, because in the 28 years I've been coming to the Philippines, I have personally achieved zilch. I've planted 6 teak trees, and as far as I know they're still alive. And apart from that, I'm not achieving a lot. To be fair, I was allowed to do stuff on Tallycut Island, and it was a learning process, and going back there I'll be able to continue that project. But it's not enough. You got to lift these, Lord, lift us up where we belong. You have to lift these people up. So you got to plant a seed. Now I've been planting the Polowinia seeds, but I don't just mean the seed as a metaphor for planting an idea. If you're allowed to do a project in the Philippines and carry it out to fruition and stand back and say, look, behold, this is what I did, and this is how I did it, and this is how you can do it, and if you like this thing, you can do it easy peasy, because I'm even going to tell you how to do it, and not only that, I'll even help you to do it. Then the place is changed. Plant a seed, and you totally change the society. But the only seeds I see being planted in the Philippines are things like, I will open a coffee shop. That's what they think. I'll open a coffee shop. I will open a sari store. All this street, the entire street, is just full of sari stores, selling bits and pieces of things like a tin of corned beef, some tins of tuna, some eggs, general supplies. So you only have to walk like 50 feet to buy something, but it's Filipinos selling low value commodities to each other, an economy going back and forwards. And that would be okay. That would be okay if the quality of life of the people was much higher. If they were going into clean, dry, cool, and beautiful houses, If they could walk into the door and say, Magandang bahay ko, my house is beautiful, and sit down, watch the TV, put the kettle on, have a cup of tea, and the quality of life would be so much better. But it's not. It's like this. It's where it's a case of this sort of standard. It's this sort of standard, and it's not good enough. And you cannot do it if you don't have the money. So that's why we need to grow, and I don't mean economically grow. We need to grow ourselves out of this situation, because not only here in the Philippines, in the UK, the politicians are shafting that country to death. They are deliberately destroying the country. I cannot think that it is any other way, that it is their deliberate plan to destroy the United Kingdom. Income is falling, expenses are going up, rent's going up, food is going up, everything. They are screwing the guy at the bottom. So we need an alternative. We need an alternative type of economy where we can get the hell out of it and function as a community of people and do our own thing and move ourselves forward without the assistance of the politicians. There's a term, it's called prepping, and what you do is you get like thousands of tins of corned beef and like rice and whatever the hell you want, potatoes in storage. You just it's mostly about storage of food, okay? You're prepping for a disaster. Now, Hurricane Katrina, which took out New Orleans, had those people prepped for that. They wouldn't have a problem, it was easy peasy. They should have been living below the levees. They should have been in what you call float houses, houses that float on the water. So if the levee breaks, you just float up with it. They should have had supplies in, so that if supplies are cut off, they're able to just stay in the house and wait till the order's restored. But no, they end up in a football stadium, like defecating all over the place because they got nowhere to go, starving and neglected by the government at the time. All of that stuff, and it wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary. I mean, even the Bible tells you to be a prepper. Look at the story, I think, is it Jacob, who you know, has got the 7 great years and the 7 lean years. So what do? They store all the food ready for the lean years. And it worked. But there's another kind of prepping which is called social prepping. And I'd advise everybody to get into this, you know. Don't be so, particularly you lot in London, don't be such a bunch of tight asses. Like, speak to each other, just talk to each other, make friends with each other, form relationships, networks that can support you, because you don't know when it's going to happen to you. You don't know. Anyway, I will press on. I will email the municipality. I'll also email whoever I can email about on this subject. I've asked family members in Davao, because the key thing is the way it's going, I'm going to have to cut my own wood and transport it up here. Otherwise, it just never happens. The project never happens. And the trees get bigger and bigger and bigger, and nobody's making any money off them, because they're just, this forestry is for ornamental purposes. It doesn't do anything. We don't make anything out of it. Anyway, I had a beer to cheer myself up. I will go back to the UK, then I'll go to Portugal, where everybody just leaves me alone to do things. Y'all Portuguese there, could you please tell me where I can buy some wood? Because if I can start buying wood in Portugal from the forestry people, from people who own eucalyptus and pine trees, I mean, my God, I've changed my attitude. I'll pretty much have anything, you know. I'll even have give me pallet wood, and I'll make something amazing out of pallet wood. I've done it before. Anything, you know, but like, world, please cut me some slack. Anyway, onward and upwards. So far, so good.